Christian fiction is not what it used to be, but that's not such a bad thing. So let's discuss.
Hi, excuse me, and welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie authors on their journey to publication. I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm going to say good morning to everybody, but first I just want to say, Jennifer, that intro video, every time I watch it, I was like doing the little pointy fingers and it turning into a dance. Oh, I love us looking at that video. I miss Rhonda. I miss Tina, who, by the way, she's just having kind of a rough day. So everyone pray for her. So she's not able to join us. But yeah, thanks for making that intro video because it just makes me smile when I see it.
You know what we're coming up on. Speaking
What?
of like nostalgia and stuff, we're coming up on episode 300. So
No way, 300.
I know this is episode 293.
That's 300 hours.
My gosh. So if you have watched every single episode, which there are people out there, we've heard from them, or if you're trying to binge, that's 300 hours of your life you spent with us. Like, I don't think we can even stand 300 hours of each other. Like, well, we've done it. We've actually done it. So I was thinking about this just the other day, Jamie, that like, I don't know what I would have done if we had not done this to where I could have kept connected with you.
Right.
I like even like being in nearby. I don't see Tina in person very often, but I feel like I see her all the time. And your friendship means the world to me. Like, and even though we're hundreds of miles from each other, like I know you're only a phone call away, and I just really appreciate you and this podcast for doing that, and for all of the like listeners like that we met and the friendships we made that way. Like, this has just been an amazing thing in my life, and I appreciate everybody, but you especially, Jamie. You're very special to me.
Thank you, Jen. I feel the same way, really. And yes, our listener, speaking of whom, the amazing and prolific Purpose Behind the Pen is with us this morning. Good morning to Catherine Carroll. And she says you're welcome, but I'm not sure. Like I missed, we're being ridiculous and shenanigizing already so early today. So we start every show with a segment we call What's Up. It's where we check in with our hosts to find out what is up in their personal or professional lives. What is up with you, Jen?
I have learned that paper mache is evil. So
I loved paper mache when I was a kid.
Oh, I had these memories of doing it and thinking like, yeah, that turned out so great. So I'm in a church plant and it's pretty small right now. And so we've decided for Vacation Bible School, instead of doing like a week-long thing, we're just going to incorporate it into kids' church. We do Saturday evening church. It's a whole new kind of thing that we do. But anyway, so the theme is called True North. I think every church in the area is doing it, but it's a really fun thing. It has to do with like going up north or being outdoorsy kind of stuff. So I had a Pinterest board full of stuff. Now, mind you, I'm not the kids director. We've talked about how I'm not a kids person. I like my kids, I like my friends' kids, but give me a room full of little kids and I'm like, nursery, that's my jam. I can do the nursery. But because we're so little, me and the children's director, we're the only kids people right now. So VBS is all hands on. Anyway, I had a whole Pinterest board full of things. And she had asked if my daughters and I would do like these mountains that we had seen on there made out of paper, right? Just like on the wall. Well, then me, having to be extra, I found on Amazon this aurora borealis light. You know how you can get those lights that will put the
Mhm.
constellation? This one just like does an aurora borealis kind of a situation on the
Nice.
wall. And I'm like, what if we made these mountains 3D and we pulled them away from the wall a little bit and that was going up the wall?
Mm.
Would that be so cool, right? Yeah, so cool. Making 3D having the idea of 3D mountains and making 3D mountains are two different things. I still have,
Oh.
and I showered. I still have paste on me, and they're still not dry. We have church tomorrow night, so but God bless my daughter Chloe, who was all in. She's like, I'll help mom. And she was like with the chicken wire and she did like the paper mache stuff. We spent over 7 hours yesterday doing this. I thought a couple hours. No, 7 hours. And then they were not dry. And I'm just like, whose stupid idea was this? Oh, wait, my stupid idea. So like, I don't know why my novel isn't done. I don't know why I'm not right because I come up with stupid ideas like this that I think is this gonna make a difference in am I really teaching children about Jesus with this? No. Will it make it fun? Yeah, but it's like there's probably way easier ways to have done this, but I feel like that's the mantra of my life is you could have done this a way easier, but no, we took the hard way. So that's
Aw.
yeah, I'm so tired. Everything hurts when you stand for like 7 hours over a table doing these mountains, but I will
Who
add
would have thought?
when we're all done with the whole thing, I will add picture and video to our Facebook group because
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with writing, but you at least got to see this. So,
Sure, but it's Christian, so
yeah.
it's on brand.
Hey, look who's back. I was just thinking about you, Leah.
Oh,
We missed you, Leah. And
yay!
she says that her daughter is getting married in 15 days. That's exciting. That's way
That is
better than paper
very
mache.
exciting.
That's so much better. Let's discuss that instead. Congratulations to your daughter and to you. And I know how
Yes,
we had a wedding a few years ago, and I know how stressful that can be. So, praying for you, but that's exciting.
that is exciting news.
Crystal is also back with us. Good morning, Crystal. Glad to see you
Good
here.
morning. Good to see you. We really appreciate everybody. Oh, mayhem and chaos for the wedding for sure, for sure.
Yes. Uh-huh. All right, Jamie,
Um,
what's up with you?
okay, so guess what? I went to a local writer meetup like 1 or 2 weeks ago on a Friday.
How'd that go?
It was really good. It's
Yay.
always nice to meet new writers. It was a small gathering on this particular day. It's very much come if you can, And
Mm-hmm.
so we did end up spending a little time just working on our projects, and so it's very interesting. I pulled up my very first nano project, and I've been just redrafting it in first person
Oh,
because it's a point of view of a young woman,
yes.
and it's coming off really good. Like, I really enjoyed doing that.
Jamie,
So
what a great
anyway, yeah,
idea. What a
yeah.
great idea.
Hmm.
Because I know
Hmm.
what project you're talking about. Like, I'm
Hmm.
so glad you're resurrecting it. Like, that's so
I don't know if
exciting.
we're talking about the same one, but
Oh,
whatever.
maybe
Like,
not.
well, we'll talk. We'll talk.
We'll talk.
But
Okay.
yeah, I just feel like it was very good to be just like coming to the podcast, just being around writerly people and getting you more in a writerly mindset is, I think, a good thing.
Yeah.
So I haven't touched it since, but it was I don't. I think it's really fixing what I found problematic with it in the first place. And I don't even know, like, as far as marketability, I know once upon a time, first person was like the thing, like Hunger Games and whatever. But it does not matter because I think for this project, this is what it needs to be. So
Yeah.
yay,
And we're
yay
going
for
to talk about
progress.
trends and stuff today. So we'll
Oh,
maybe
perfect.
swing that into our conversation today. But Purpose Behind the Pen says that her what's up is I am free writing at the moment because whenever I'm halfway through a book, I tense up and I get a case of imposter syndrome. You are not
Oh,
alone. We have a whole episode on the murky middle that talks
yeah.
about this too years ago. Again, we're almost 300 episodes in, but we should probably do another murky middle episode because that's so true. And you're not alone. So many of us deal with that, and Yeah, imposter syndrome. That's a whole nother thing to just really
Yeah,
talk about
because you're about to
seriously.
put out your second book, Jen.
No,
And,
my fourth.
oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Yes,
okay.
but the ideal is like, are you going to have the same success
Right. You
as you
do.
found?
Yeah, you go through there's so I get imposter syndrome at so many different stages of the process of
Mm.
getting a book out to readers that and they're different kinds, like it's different things, right?
We
It's
should
like,
maybe document those, and then that could be an episode.
yeah.
We'll have to have a talk to where I take some good notes and you get therapy for free.
Yeah. That's why, yeah, it is like that's why this podcast exists, is because I can't afford therapy.
Sometimes talking it out is just what you need.
Yeah.
Leah, on top of having a daughter getting married, she's working on book 2 of the New Orleans series, also brainstorming for book 12 of the Pioneer series. So I bet your readers are hungry for that. I know you've got
Mhm.
rabid fans, which is really, really a cool thing.
Yeah. I love the idea of writing a series that's like multiple books, like beyond 4. I set myself up for this series to really just be 4. And I know that I could pull other characters and like that, side characters that people love. But my mind just isn't there right now. But I just love that idea to just keep going and going. Maybe this,
Yeah,
maybe my
so
new series, but
so
yeah, it's
and
exciting.
such a rich tapestry and history that you develop after that many books, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I can tell you so much about Michigan in the 1910s and 1920s, and I can and about the Lansing area and about just all that stuff that I feel like I only kind of scratched the surface in my book. So there is lots more there. So I don't know, maybe someday. I've often talked about that, instead of just continuing this series, I might do like a branched off series about following Phoebe and Will in the Upper Peninsula, because again, such an interesting area of our state and in our country. And you guys know that I just love Will so much. He's adorable. I love him because he's real,
All right. Yes, of course.
of course.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So we are going to dive into the topic du jour. And this week, we are talking about the evolution of Christian fiction. As Jen indicated in our brief little introduction, Christian fiction is not what it used to be. And we're going to kind of take a look at the genre, how it's grown, and what that means for us writers today, whether we say we are Christian authors or whether we are just Christians who are authors. It is a topic of interest and something we should be mindful of, right, Jen? Because you want to write to market, you want to write things, you want to write what's expected. You don't want to disappoint readers.
Right. When we first kind of threw this idea around, we were like, "Oh, what are we going to have to say about it?" And then the more we like looked at, it, we're like, "Oh, we have a lot to say." All right. So
Yes.
starting off with the where we've come from, right? Like I was just
Mhm.
started watching an interview with, I know we've talked before that how I feel like Jeanette Oak is kind of like I don't want to say hero. It kind of makes it too much, but it was
Pioneer.
yeah, I was as a young teenager that I was introduced to her books, and it really kind of affected my life as far as like how I chose to date and how I pursued and viewed relationships, Christian relationships, and Christian love. And that's, I mean, been probably more influential in my life than anything if I think about that. But as a writer, she also has influenced me. I don't write like her. But if you guys recall, I was reading one of her books and I'm like, I had this story in my head, right? I thought I had one book in me. I think a lot of writers start that way. And I had this one book and I came across an old book of hers. I'm like, oh, I haven't read this one yet. I'll read it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my idea. Oh, someone's already done it. And then as I read it, I liked the book. But then as it got about halfway and then kept going, I'm like, no, no. And I really, by the end of the book, I hated what she did. Now, mind you, she's the queen and she has a new book out. She's 90 years old and released a book this year. Like, if
Wow.
you think that's too late for you, or you think that like, oh, I've never, no, she's 90 and released a book this year. So
That's so inspiring.
it's
Thank you,
so
Jen.
right. So in March she did. So anyway, um, I didn't like the book, and that inspired me, and it to like I got a fire lit underneath me about writing my book. And so if um so like anything can get you going, right? But um back in those days, Christian fiction, she was the pioneer. Like she wrote pioneer books, but she was the pioneer, and they talk about that in this interview I was watching, that Christian romance really was not existent. There really
Mm,
wasn't a genre before she came out with her books. And so so then we had like this, the founding of Christian fiction, and because of Christian romance, Christian fiction kind of took off as well. Like she kind of like really kickstarted this whole genre that we are all now writing in or reading in or whatnot. And back then, you think about it, in those early days, that was really largely defined by traditional publishing. Like there
mm-hmm.
really, independent publishing wasn't a thing. And if you did it, it was because like, you like, I don't know, like you would staple it together and hand it out to your friends like that. Like way back then, there wasn't even,
Self-publishing, not indie
yeah,
publishing.
right. Well, then self-publishing came in after that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, like
there,
way after, yeah.
yes. So back then it was like what, Tyndale House, Zondervan, and Bethany House. So those still are in existence now, but they have been swallowed up by larger book corporations. But
Mm-hmm.
they were independent themselves, like they were their own companies.
Can I
Um,
just kind of take us back like even farther? Because I think what we're kind of missing in the discussion is the fact that like all writing, especially like the early British writing, with the exception, well, even Frankenstein. Okay, so I'm saying like Christianity was sort of the expected default condition
True.
of most readers in the
In
times of
classic
early
literature.
published in classic literature. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Dickens' audience, like it was presumed that you were a Christian, even if you never darkened the doorway of a church, just because like the national religion was Christianity. And in some of the early Victorian literature, it's pretty anti-Semitic because they're afraid of Jewish people. Like Christianity was kind of the norm, and so at that point, there would not be genre signifiers the way that we have to mark something out as Christian.
Yeah.
And then the evolution of just how the church, the big church, evolved over time and the culture evolved parallel to it. The realm of the novel became more of a realm for people to take risks and to be counterculture.
Mhm.
And so the audience not necessarily is going to be a Christian readership anymore.
Right.
Because just like our society evolved to where faith is not presumed upon anyone, and especially in America with freedom of religion, freedom to express different religions, those themes were explored, and suddenly novels were filled with, PG or worse content. Novels were places where people would go to express anti-Christian sentiments.
Right.
And so it's just interesting that at this time that we are now talking about, a significant amount of people wanted this kind of writing, and it actually got a stamp on it to be called a Christian book. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think too that these publishing houses that we just mentioned, I think a lot of them like started off right like publishing Bibles, right? And
Yes.
maybe even
Mm-hmm.
specifically like concordances and things like that. And fiction was maybe peripheral, maybe, but Jeanette Oak really like explored it. I just pulled off my shelf. I have a whole shelf full of Jeanette Oak over here to my right. Um, but like I have some original, like if you guys for those of you that are watching, some of the original covers, you can even see like how different covers have become since back
Yeah.
then. Like look at this one. This is a hand drawn, and we're kind of getting back to hand drawn
Yeah, I
again.
was just
In a
gonna
different
say sort of like animated or
blurry.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
blurry. So anyway, but you can kind of
Fascinating.
see. But this shows that she was originally with Bethany House. So Bethany House, I think, was like almost nothing before Jeanette Oak. And the head of Bethany House, it was a couple. They put their trust in, like, we think this is where it's heading. And so early on, so this exploded, and early on it was like Christian fiction was dominated by Christian romance, historical specifically, Amish fiction, and then like inspirational women's fiction. That was what
Mhm.
dominated it. And for many, like you said, it was definitely like a clean alternative to mainstream fiction, which had started to become like edgy or
Yes.
atheistic, or
Mhm.
and so this was the answer for us.
Yeah,
um
and the fact that it was another avenue for these publishing houses to make money is a whole
mhm.
different market. Because you might buy one Bible in your lifetime, but you'll buy a whole series if you like the romance, right?
Yeah, right.
So
And then the next
capitalism
thing
at
I
play.
and then the next shift that we saw in Christian fiction was, do you remember the Left Behind series?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I
So
do.
now
Hmm.
they weren't the only ones. Like Frank Peretti was also highly published and was like, for those of you who don't know, Frank Peretti writes basically like Christian horror. It's not marketed that way, but it's pretty scary stuff. But it's his writing is his theory is that if God were ever to open our eyes to the spiritual warfare around us, we would fall down dead out of fear. Like that's how scary it would be. And
Mm.
so that's how he writes. He writes about the spiritual warfare and like that. And there were other authors like that, but Left Behind was a big thing that did a big change in Christian fiction, and we can all look at that and see, like, okay, that's where things started to shift, from not just being Christian historical romance and Amish. Now all these other genres started showing up, like that. Oh, Christian writing can actually be something. It can actually sell. That was because that's what has to
Mhm.
happen, right? It not only
Mhm.
has to be like that we want it or we would like to read it. It has to sell. Otherwise, because back then, remember, we were still dominated by the traditional publishers, the three big ones in Christian fiction. And when they saw that sold, and it sold even into mainstream, then they were willing to look at, okay, well, what else can we do with Christian fiction?
What I want to know about is just because I see share favorite early Christian titles there. And the only thing that really comes to mind is the Chronicles of Narnia,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because that predates Jeanette Oak, and then like things like the Screw Tape Letters. So like C.S. Lewis, it seems like he was kind of hanging around in the periphery doing what he was doing, but it wasn't like
But see, I think
branded
that,
as Christian fiction either, was it?
right.
It was
Well,
it
we're
was
also
just
talking way back. We're talking about classic
yeah,
literature, and so
yeah,
back to what you said, where things were just, you were assume that you were going to be, that there was
yeah,
going to be Christian in your writing, right?
yeah,
So
mhm,
it was mainstream publishing that had Christian themes in it. So that was
yeah,
probably pushing he and J.R.R. Tolkien kind of pushed the envelope, is that the right term? Pushing the envelope a little bit, like pushed against the edges of what was like, yes, Dickens had Christian themes, and yes, like you assume that every character was a Christian in his books, but they really took and made Christian allegory
yes,
from the
allegory,
Bible.
mhm,
And so
and
that was
they
kind of a new thing. Right.
yes, and the genre Christian fiction did not exist, so these books were just probably sold to people as adventure stories or however they marketed back then.
Ooh,
It
let's do a whole episode on those two and how they develop not only Christian fiction but also fantasy,
yeah,
because
all
yeah,
of
I have so much to say about that too. So yeah, it's exciting. It's very
Okay.
cool.
So I feel like a flake because the next thing we're going to talk about share a favorite early Christian title. I do not like, I cannot even think of like one. I didn't read Christian fiction growing up. I wasn't like a Jeanette Oak person. I know like Left Behind, Leah is a big fan. I was not. I did read a Frank Peretti, maybe. So sorry, I don't have one. Sorry, but I would love to hear everybody else's because maybe I will pick one up and check it out. How about you, Jen?
Crystal also says Pilgrim's Progress, same
Yeah.
time period as the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
More allegory there. obviously my first was with Jeanette Oak. The One Calls the
Yeah.
Heart series and the Love Comes Softly series. Both of those books, those series, I like devoured them. My grandmother was introducing them and she shared them with me. And I'm so sad. I had all of the originals, like all of the like when they first came out, books like this. And my grandmother, when she was later in age, she asked me, she's like, "Do you have my books?" And I thought she'd given them to me. And here I am in my
Hmm.
20s, 30s, I think it was at that point. And she wanted them back and she wanted to reread them. So of course I'm going to say yes. Well, I don't know what happened to them. And so I'm so sad because,
Hmm.
she's gone now. And when she moved in with my parents at the end of her life, the last few years of her life, she didn't have them. So I don't know what happened
Hmm.
to them, but which makes me very sad because I really did treasure those. So I every so often while I'm thrifting, I look to see if I can find some of them. I know
Yeah.
they're out there,
Yeah.
but yeah. So anyway,
Oh,
so for me, 100% it was Jeanette Oak. So that's all. I feel like that's all I read as a teenager was her books. So
I think Leah's saying her favorite early work was Piercing the
oh,
Darkness,
yes,
or
that's
and
Frank
then that's the
Peretti,
art. Okay,
girl.
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
I made the mistake of finishing that at like 12:30 at night, like 1 o'clock in the morning. I could not sleep. I was
Oh
scared
gosh,
out of my mind, and I know I'm kind of a wimp with that kind of stuff, but also, oh yeah, Grace Livingston Hill, early 1900s. Yep, forgot about her. But
I'm gonna have
again,
to
in
look
that
her
time
up.
period where it wasn't labeled
Mm-hmm.
Christian fiction, it was just fiction with a little bit more Christian, lean than others. Um, Catherine Carroll says her first Christian books that she read were Left Behind series and Frank Peretti. And the first Christian book with romance was Kristen Billerbeck, What a Girl Wants. I've never read that before.
Hmm.
I'll have to look. So, yeah.
Okay, so where are we now? We've talked about the history of Christian fiction, but can we talk about some current trends in Christian fiction? We kind of hinted around a little bit.
Yep.
The genres have exploded, haven't they?
Yes. So that's what I would say what we're in the middle of right now is an
Mm-hmm.
expansion of genre. So the trend number one that we see is that there's a genre expansion. There's definitely a rise in Christian fantasy and sci-fi, dystopian thrillers, urban fiction. I wish that Tina was here to talk about this because this is her thing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
um before there wouldn't have been an audience, and I know that she has struggled to find her audience, and her audience technically on Amazon is small. But we've talked in the past too about once you find your audience, you don't need to have a huge audience. You just need to have a rabid audience that, and so
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is there is an audience out there now for these other genres that did not exist before. Helped by Peretti and Left Behind and to expand these series. But you see a lot more when you walk into a Christian bookstore or into Barnes and Noble to the Christian section. It still is dominated by Christian romance. We're not gonna like try to act like it's not. It totally is,
Mm-hmm.
but you see so many more genres that are now coming out of the woodwork, especially with the fact that people have Kindles and people can go to Amazon and can, specifically find something. It doesn't have to have earned space on the shelf, the physical space on the
Yeah.
shelf. And that's made a huge difference and helped us to have more genres in our like subgenres in the Christian fiction genre.
Well, shout out to our Patreon subscribers because I'm going to mention them right now. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you have access to our monthly Q&A. And during our last Q&A, which they've turned into just, salons, writing salons where we discuss
Hmm.
relevant topics. So we probably should stop calling them a Q&A. But anyway, we were talking about how young people today really seem to be craving wholesomeness that they can find in Christian writing. And so I think that the audience for Christian writing has expanded to be a lot of youth, where in the past, I think maybe parents would buy Christian books for their children. But I think that this younger generation is seeking it out themselves. So I would say that is another
Agree.
change in the Christian fiction trends that I've spotted.
Purpose Behind the Pen is actually bringing up our next point. She said it's
Mm-hmm.
getting more and more wild out here in Christian fiction community. The authors are coming out bolder with the content they create. That's exactly what
Yes.
we have in our outline, that they're taking creative risks. They're blending genres.
Mm-hmm.
Who Piper Dow is blending
Mm-hmm.
some genres right now, and she just finished her first book in
Yes.
this new.
Good for
Uh, Good for
her.
her. So excited for her. So yeah, they're definitely, and yeah. So I think that's super exciting.
Well,
Um,
and yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna move on to the next one, unless there's
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
so trend number 2 that we're seeing is diverse voices. Now, for
Mm-hmm.
sure, when you would go to the Christian bookstore back in the 80s, it was all white female. That's really what it
Mm-hmm.
was. But now you're finding more and more BIPOC books, Black, Indigenous, and people of color books, authors that are writing that, characters that are that, and they're telling like unique faith-centered stories from um, different cultures and different um, people of color, and it's exciting days right now to
Yeah.
see Christian fiction opening up into those areas as well, and people stepping forward and saying, I want to be represented. I'm a Christian, I
Mm-hmm.
like Christian fiction, but I want to be represented, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we're also seeing a movement towards cultural authenticity, and
Mm-hmm.
inclusivity.
Yeah.
So, like, not just having token characters, but really
Mm-hmm.
including these characters in the storyline and being authentic about it. We've talked I think, off and on a little bit about my book 2 of my new series is going to include a person of color in it, and there as a main character. And that as a white person, like, I want to include, but it also needs to be authentic. And so it's where I'm kind of
Yeah.
struggling, and I'm like tiptoeing it. But I'm going to do it because I feel like that's more authentic to the history of the area that I'm writing about and what I'm writing about. Like, it would have been authentic that there would have
Mm.
been people of color that were pioneering the West. And it's not a history that we have been taught, but it's a true history. So
Well, and the third trend we're going to talk about is that the theme of faith has gotten a little more subtle, um, sometimes to nearly undetectable. It used to be the
it's
Christian
true.
message would be pretty in your face. Someone would get converted by the end of the story. Bible messages would possibly be passed along to the reader, things like that. But now, not every story ends with a conversion, and authors more focus on themes that
Mm.
are uh, Christian adjacent, like
Yeah.
redemption, forgiveness, and hope. And we've talked even in our podcast about how to write Christian without preaching at people. So
Right.
no more sermonizing happening, really.
And I think there's a balance, because I also, myself personally, I don't want to pick up a book that's labeled Christian and the only thing is it's got a theme of forgiveness.
That's
To
one thing I went. Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't know if we were going to cover it down here. Just like when Purpose Behind the Pen mentioned boldness, I was thinking, yeah,
Mhm.
boldness, and not even in necessarily a good way. I mean, weren't we having a discussion before about like at what point can you not call yourself a Christian? Like, didn't we even talk that there's like Christian spicy now? Like,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
so again, as a genre is expanding, it's also,
yeah.
and as we're blending genres and things are changing, not everything is going to be good. But
Hmm.
this is where we're going to start to, like, because again, back in the history of Christian fiction, we were controlled by the three main houses. And now
Hmm.
with this surge of indie authors like myself, like,
Hmm.
so I'm not against it, but with this surge of indie, everyone's opinion, like, they get to choose if they want to label themselves Christian.
Yes.
They get to choose what's going to be in their book that they call Christian, and there is no gatekeeper. But we say there's no gatekeeper, but there really is. And that gatekeeper is your audience. And we've talked
Yes.
also about writing to market. And so I think that there are people that are, like, kind of like pushing the boundaries. That's the term I was looking for earlier. They're
Mm.
pushing the boundaries. But remember, as a writer, you can only push so far before you find yourself outside the boundary, and it's the readers that truly make the decision of where the boundary is for your genre specifically.
Well, thanks, Jen, because you just covered the fourth trend we've noticed, which is that indie publishing has exploded. So many independently published books where the author is also the quote unquote gatekeeper and the determinator of the genre, right?
Yep. Sorry.
Okay. No, no, that's great. I love it. So, looking ahead now, what
Here's the
can
fun
we
part.
expect in the future besides a robot that would clean my house?
All right. So these are predictions that we are making. We are like, don't come at us in 10 years and say, excuse me, this didn't happen. But these are what we
Mm-hmm.
think we see our genre of Christian fiction moving towards. And kind of what we
Mm-hmm.
talked about a little bit ago, we think we're going to continue to see genre diversity. We
Yep.
and I think Piper has really is going to be really on the cusp of this. Is that you can expect more mystery. I think there's going to be more Christian mystery,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we talked about this in our live Q&A that Hallmark movie and Great American Family, they have these like mystery TV shows or movies, and I think that is going to help people like us who watch that, but also are more readers, that we're going to be looking for that to fill that void in our reading. We're like, I want to read a Christian mystery. And I
Mm-hmm.
think more supernatural stuff like what Tina writes, I think that is
Yeah.
gonna, I think she's on the cusp of that exploring. Frank Peretti is very popular. I can't believe it. Tosca Lee also kind of writes like that. Who's the other one? There's Ted Decker. I think that we're going to see more the scary stuff and the horror stuff to fill that kind of want in readership. Magical realism, again, Piper Dow.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, I'm excited about her book. When her book comes out, you're all gonna like be super excited about it.
Yep.
Because it fits a lot of these blended genres and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so continued diversity in genre is our
I
prediction number
think,
one.
yes, yes. And I think that part of that is going to be more, I mean, I'm not going to say memoirs, but more authentic and raw faith journeys, like
That's
where
prediction number two.
characters are really struggling, they're really flawed, things like mental health, addiction, grief, that were like the early Christian fiction and even current Christian fiction has been a little sanitized, right? And sometimes they're too saccharine sweet for some readers. People who are reading Christian fiction from the past are wanting a sanitized world. They're wanting happily ever after. They're probably wanting to, like, the world is terrible. Let me get to a place that is magical and wonderful. But some readers are wanting the gritty, raw, true stuff of life.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be an uptake of those kind of books.
But let's think about too, when those like sanitized Christian novels were coming out back in the 80s and then even the early 90s, we didn't really talk about certain things. People like, even
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm careful what I say on YouTube here, but like certain abuses
Mm-hmm.
were like, you kept it to yourself because it was embarrassing, as if somehow you were like, I don't know, like,
Mhm.
why should you be
Mhm.
shamed? But back then you were. People like didn't really talk much about divorce, and like, so we are so much more open about talking about the real struggles in life outside of like writing, that like our writing really should reflect that our society now is talking about these problems, dealing with these problems, and our fiction should also mirror that, because people, telling you, readers want it. Readers want real characters. They don't want the sugared up perfect characters that nothing happens to them, because that's not what's happening in their life.
Right.
So
Yes, they
they
want it to
they
be
want
relatable.
they want the hope that comes from the character's arc at the end of what happens, how they come
Mhm.
out of it. Yeah.
And then, thirdly, there's going to be technology-driven storytelling, like it or not.
Yeah. You're you are never,
Oh,
yeah, we're not going backwards in technology. We're
no,
only gonna go forward.
no.
So again,
Mhm.
your writing you should mirror that. It's going to. I think that we're gonna like see things like, I mean, like the Kindle 10 years ago, 20 years
Mhm.
ago, 20 years ago, you never could have convinced me that I was going to be a digital reader more than I am a book reader. I love books
Mm.
still, but it's just so much easier for me. Just I'll be somewhere and
Yeah.
I'll have a minute to read and I pull my phone out. I have a nice
Mhm.
Kindle. It's around here somewhere. Here, it's underneath a bunch of other books. I have a really nice Kindle.
No.
I almost never use it because my phone is always with me, right? Um,
Mhm.
Audiobooks is another thing that
Yeah.
you could have convinced me because when I was in college and I would drive home from Boston, I would
Yeah.
rent, I'd get something from the library and I'd listen to books as I drove.
Mhm.
But you're going to see, especially with AI, you're going to see more and more people using audiobooks to supplement their reading. I don't think it's going
And
to completely replace books.
unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, and I'm going to stand on unfortunately, people are using AI to write books and they're putting them up on Amazon. And you're just going to see more and more of that because, again, there isn't anybody at Amazon saying, nope. And this is what we love about independent publishing. But this is where, a lot of garbage is allowed to get published. Allowed, I mean, it just gets published.
All right,
And
here's a whole
so,
nother episode idea is we're going to talk about AI versus the real writer. So that's going to be an
oh,
episode coming up here very
I
soon.
love that. And there's going to be more interactive content, web-based stories, visual novels, etc. Do you know what I heard in a what is the name, Clubhouse discussion?
Mm.
There was at least one author, maybe many people have done it, whatever, but like they would send you snail mail, like letters that came from either a character in the book but snail mail. Can you even imagine?
So fun.
Uh-huh. And especially if you write like historical and, because writing that way used to be such a intrinsic part of their society. So interesting to think about how you would have like a servant come and take your letter and run it across town to your friend because you couldn't call them up on the phone.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
So, okay,
digress.
so that I'm so glad you brought that up because I think that this is a bonus one. We still have to get to prediction number 4, but so bonus
Yeah.
prediction, I'm going to slip it in here really quick while we're talking about this. I think you are going to see a return to paper books and more traditional stuff. The generation below us, the younger are are realizing that they want, like, they have the whole trad wife thing and like that. But there is a return to writing real letters. There is a
Hmm.
return to doing things the old-fashioned way to them, which is
Yeah,
how we grew up. Um,
yeah.
and so I think that the real letter sending thing to readers, it could be a big deal. Like, that's pretty cool. I'd love to talk about that
Yeah,
later, but
it was
yeah.
really cool.
All right.
Okay, prediction number 4, more hybrid author models.
Yep. So again, we started off with fiction, Christian fiction being like the 3 main houses, and you had to be traditionally published. That was the only option. To now, today, where like indie authors it's a very viable thing. A lot of people doing it's getting more and more respected because when we started, we've been doing this for a while, Jamie. When we started, there was still a lot of negativity about indie
Yes.
authors, and we see
Uh-huh.
this swing. And traditional publishing houses are realizing that they are missing the boat. And so you're going to see a lot more of mixtures of the blend between indie, hybrid. And then I think that traditional houses are going to start looking way more indie, and you're not going to be able to tell the difference between us and them because now they are starting to try to blend in with us because we're where it's at. Like, I
I
know that
know the whole thing has tipped
it
because the
has.
trad pub people, they were holding really tight to like, no, we are going to be, so useful and relevant and whatever. But as the independents learned more to do for themselves what those houses were doing, they've been forced to move. And so
And
I think that this prediction is going to be the most impactful to the industry as a whole.
And you know how you're going to see it, and how we know this is when you find traditionally published books in Kindle Unlimited. That's when it started,
Mm,
when they finally realized we're missing out on some bucks. So keep your
mm,
eyes on that, because I still think that following the traditional publishing, like what they're doing, their trends, is not a bad idea, because guess what? They have people that they pay to do the research. They do the research.
mm-hmm.
We don't have that kind of money, but we can emulate what they're doing. So
Yeah. So, so that's a really good piece of advice, Jen. And also, as the industry's going to change, we don't have to be afraid of it, right?
Right.
Be strategic, be prayerful, stay informed,
Right.
and you'll have nothing to fear, really.
Right.
We did have another segment about what this is going to mean to authors, but we're kind of running out of time, Jen. Do you think that we're good to move on to, or do you think we should wrap it up with just
Let me just do
another
it real
final thought?
fast. Let me do it
Mm-hmm.
real fast. I don't think it's enough for a separate episode, but here's our suggestions. Now that we've given you
Okay.
kind of like what's happening, here's our or what's going to happen. Stay educated. Keep an eye
Yeah.
on Amazon's bestseller list. Look at what traditional publishing is doing and what other writers are doing around you. Stay rooted in your message. Number two, stay
Yeah,
rooted in
because
your
at the same
message.
time, you don't want to dilute your message for
Yes.
marketability.
Because
Mm-hmm.
we are Christian writers, and we may make some people mad who want to be called Christian writers and only have like forgiveness theme and nothing else in there. But we're going to stand our ground on this. Like, you don't have to write Christian fiction. You can be a fan of the show and be part of our community as a Christian and write other things. But if you want to label
Right.
yourself Christian fiction, we say don't dilute your message. Right.
Right.
Tip number 3, experiment smartly. Try things out.
Right.
Like, look at what's
Mm-hmm.
happening and try some novellas, some short stories, maybe some serialized formats. How fun would that be to become
Mm-hmm.
Charles Dickens and start writing like little shorts and putting it out there? And maybe even collaborate with other authors who are trying new things. Tip number 4, build your brand with intentionality. If
Yeah.
is your brand cozy, faith-filled romance, or is it gritty, redemption, kind of dystopia? Stay
Yeah,
consistent in
because
your tone and your message. Yeah.
yeah, today's audience is looking for all of it. So let them know what I have to offer.
Yep. And stay invest in craft and in community. If you're
Yeah,
part of this podcast, if you're part of our Facebook group or part of our Patreon, you're part of a community. And
you
that's so
are.
important because this is what we're here to support each other. Earlier in the episode, we had prolific not prolific.
Purpose behind the pen. I call
Sorry, purpose behind the pen. I wish I knew your
it.
real name because it's so hard for me to say all of that. Talked about her struggles, and we all were able to relate. That's so important to stay
Mm-hmm.
grounded with that and to be in part of a community. So that's it.
Yes. All right. Good job, Jen. You ran through that so quickly. I do
Woo!
appreciate you. And if you want to keep this conversation going, join us over in our Facebook group. Join our Patreon so you can have access to our Q&A and other behind-the-scenes goodies. And now we're going to go into my favorite part of Friday, which is the feeding of the backs. We just give positive feedback to a sprint we created in 15 minutes. We both write to the same prompt, and then we see the fun differences between the two writings. So, Jen, what is the prompt and what did you write?
Today's prompt was, this location is rich with history, and we are back in Marnie's world.
Oh, fun.
You remember last time I wrote, they were in a meeting and she just ended up having to like she's going to be having to work with Mr. Boss. Well, that settles it then, Mr. Boss's dad said jubilantly. Since I know your calendar has been cleared, he raised an eyebrow at Mr. Boss, you can move all of your attention to this project. I need to speak with you first, but then you and Marnie can begin planning the campaign. I'd like you to film in Marshfield. The area is rich with history and embodies the essence of this company. Marshfield? Marnie had lived in Boston for the last 4 years or so, and she had never heard of Marshfield. While she pondered the mystery location, the room began to empty. She sat there waiting for a break in the herd so she could make her exit as well. The last person passed her and Mr. Boss, who stood casually leaning on the wall next to her. She gathered her belongings and stood. Miss Maxwell. It wasn't until he spoke at that moment that she realized how closely her standing up had brought her to his face. She said a little prayer of thanksgiving that she hadn't collided with his chin on her ascent. She had also realized that he knew her name. How in the world would Mr. Boss know who she is? Yes, she squeaked. Marnie had read books where the characters supposedly squeaked, but until this very moment, she had no idea what that would have sounded like. I hope you are all right with this arrangement, he said, the low baritone of his voice doing strange things with her spine. You weren't exactly given an option. Sure. Could you sound more like an awkward teenager? I mean, whatever I can do to help the company. Good. Marnie turned to leave, grateful for the opportunity to exit. And Miss Maxwell, she turned back. Yes? Next time, don't be late for the morning meeting. I won't always be able to delay my father until you arrive. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, he was looking out for her. That's
So
great.
how many weeks have I been writing this one scene for you guys to finally
Yeah,
get to this point where
yeah.
you realize that when she came in late, he was delaying her dad, and he's already noticed her and noticed that she was late, and it's like, so
That's
that's it.
great. I love it. And I like how you describe sometimes I feel like I can't get my character from A to B or I can't and sometimes you just have to say it. But the way you talked about like looking for a break in the herd, I
Mhm.
completely recognize that as one of those like kind of mundane moments, but that it's happening, and you kind of want to like say she had a hard time getting out of the room because all these people were in the way, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Anyway, I noticed
thanks.
that turn of phrase, and I really appreciate how you adeptly handled that. Good job.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, I love this world. I love these characters. Hooray!
All right, Jamie, what'd you write?
Okay, it's a little dark, so if you guys want to tune out, I wouldn't
Ooh.
blame you. See you next week. Okay,
Speaking of pushing the envelope or pushing.
right.
Yeah.
This location is rich with history. The withered woman pushed her spectacles further up her nose and took 2 breaths with a worrying level of exertion. She could not know how right she was. I'm sure you'll find plenty to explore during your stay. Thank you, I said, attempting a smile and taking the offered room key. It was the same replicated ornamental brass key I'd been handed on that long ago night by a boy younger than my kid brother who'd blushed as he read aloud the words honeymoon suite off the rental agreement. Nothing had changed, it seemed, except for the Methuselated clerk. I wondered if she was the boy's mother, then did instantaneous math and corrected myself. Grandmother.
Hmm.
I slipped the ornamental key into the lock with grim joy, fulfilling a desire formed in my soul forever ago, when I'd been repeatedly denied this small delight, and for the first time started to see the flecks of gold chip off the tarnished base that was the character of my new husband. Into the room, same gloomy, hulking furniture, same rose colored wallpaper, same tiny, cramped bathroom. But that clawfoot tub, it was still there too, the setting of this carefully crafted drama I had envisioned for years and was finally ready to act out. My phone rang. Hi, Charlie. Mom, the doctor called. Did he? You missed your appointment. I I drifted off, staring at the clawfoot tub and wondering if it would be the old lady herself who discovered me, or if it would be someone hired to come in and clean the room. Mom, I needed to get away. When are you coming back? I paused long enough for her to know. Mom, don't. I love you, Charlie. My daughter's sobs had no effect. It was the most poignant representation of the old saying, too little, too late, one could have ever imagined. I've got to go. I love you too, Mom. Talk soon, I said, out of habit, before ending the call.
Oh, Jamie. Oh my gosh. Talk about writing something in a way without saying what's happening, but you're saying what's happening. Like, oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. Like, I want to scream out, no, don't do it. But like,
Yeah,
clearly she's got a terminal like all these things you didn't tell us, but we know she's got a terminal illness. She's gone back to her honeymoon suite, back to like one of the best memories of her life. And she's gonna like end everything there. And like, oh my gosh, so rich with description. And honestly, this is like kind of a short writing for you, like as far as
yeah,
word
yeah.
count. And you jam so much in there. It's like I'm so emotional right now. Like there's so many things. Yeah. So well done. Show not tell. You were the queen of it. So
Well,
good.
thank you. I appreciate that. I really wanted to get a beginning, middle, and end today. I'm glad that it
You
like ended
did.
up working out. Yeah.
Man,
I
Jamie.
did. The timer did go off as I was writing like 5 more words, just in the interest of full disclosure.
Yeah, me too. I finished a sentence too. We both cheated today.
Okay.
Well
We've
done.
only got 2 minutes. Oh, thank you, everybody in the comments. I see what you have
Yeah.
written there, and Jen, some nice comments for your piece too. What's next for you, Jen?
Book cover. Working on book
Woo,
cover.
woo. It looks great too. Ooh, everybody wait till you see it. It makes me feel cold just looking at it. It's such a beautiful, cold
Oh,
looking
thank you.
scene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
patrons got to get a sneak peek at it. So, yep,
Ooh,
our
yeah.
patrons. Yeah, I always say
Yeah,
Patreons, our patrons. Yep.
you should join.
All right,
Okay,
Jamie, what
and
about you?
I do not know what is next for me. More putting off, doing everything but writing, probably. But I will write on Friday, of course, for this podcast for sure.
All right.
Okay. And so for that, that will have to conclude this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. Until next time, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye.